Warner Brothers is only a few weeks away from seeing if the big gamble they took on James Gunn and Superman ends up paying off for them, or whether, like so many of the DC movies they've had in the last several years, ends up being another disappointment. This is a DC Studios formed under James Gunn and Peter Safran, which is coming off failure after failure after failure. The past 5 years, after Joker in 2019, from 2020 all the way on, they've released 10, 11 movies, and all of them have been massive money losers for them, with the exception of The Batman. That's it. That's the only thing. And as the Batman sequel continues to kind of just sit here, and we hear James Gunn talk about him, he says, hey, give Matt Reeves time. A lot of people are starting to wonder, are they waiting to see how Superman does before they decide to either greenlight that and go full speed ahead, or say, hey, no thanks, we're going to move in a different direction? That's the way a lot of people are thinking, because a lot is riding on this movie with a massive, massive budget, reportedly up to a $200 million marketing budget, in addition to the, depending on which report you believe, whether the tax documents that were released that say $363 million production budget, or if you believe Warner Brothers saying, oh, we only spent $225, we promise. Either way, it needs to be a massive hit for them. And recently, the box office numbers we just got are not looking great for Superman. Superman box office projections plummet below initial expectations as DC and James Gunn brace for opening weekend. And that was this story that came out a few days ago, where, you know, the first projections we saw from like Box Office Theory had it somewhere in the $185 million range for opening weekend, which would be massive. That would be huge, no doubt about it. But then we got things that were like, oh, 125 to 145. Now, that might not be, certain disaster area, but it could be a little concerning. Something that's projected to open lower than Thor: Love and Thunder did a few years ago. Of course, that could be a little concerning. Then you get 90 to 125 million. And if it opened on the low end, if this opens less than $100 million with everything they've poured into it, it is a problem for them. And James Gunn, as well as with everybody, they are on the massive marketing push now. You're seeing ads everywhere. You're seeing clips everywhere. You're seeing new trailers. You're seeing product partnerships. You're seeing all of this stuff really taking off in the last several weeks. And James Gunn has sat down and he's talked a lot about this movie. And he's had some interesting things to say. But one thing is clear. He sees a lot of what people are talking about. And for the most part, I think his reactions to that are like, hey, not everyone's going to like everything. It's okay to have some people that are upset about something. It's okay to have differences of opinions. You can't please every single person out there. But he certainly is hearing things that people are saying, for better or worse. And in fact, one of the first things that was criticized, I think in one of the first trailers we got for Superman, well, it turns out that the thing that people were talking about, the things that people were pointing out, James Gunn just kind of forgot to look at that when they put it in the big trailer for Superman. Like one of the most important things to make an impression on people, James Gunn just kind of forgot about the Iron Fleet. He just kind of forgot to take a look at that in their massive marketing campaign. Superman 2025 removes most controversial trailer moment from final movie. One highly discussed moment from a Superman movie trailer is now confirmed to be out of the film's final cut. Now, this was a commercial, right? A commercial that was out there, an ad that was out there. Gunn confirmed that this was made for a TV commercial and wasn't finished visual effects shot, which created by combining footage of a photograph and a drone. He even admitted he didn't love a shot. Now, this is the one in question. There was a lot of discussion over this. I don't think I found it as highly controversial a freeze frame as some other people did, with as small a part of it was. But there was a lot of people that talked about it. And when you are doing something like this, they're paying attention to everything. They're paying attention to the suit. They're paying attention to the cape. They're paying attention to how you look, if your eyes look goofy, all of this shit. And James Gunn pretty much just comes out and says, hey, look, usually I really care about everything that goes into all of our ads, but this one just got by me, I guess. So I don't think it was so much. It was a TV commercial. It wasn't a finished visual effects shot. So the part of him flying, it was a photograph of his face and him flying. It was a photograph of a drone flying in front of an actual background. So all the pieces were real, but it was incorporated in kind of a funky way. I didn't love the shot. It's not even the shot that's in the movie. Sometimes I'm pretty strict when I'm going through a trailer and looking at each of the shots, but sometimes the commercials, I forget to look at this closely. So that one kind of got by me. And I agree. It did look goofy and did look like his face was superimposed on it a little bit. But like I said, we are used to seeing things that aren't necessarily full visual effects done, full stuff like this. However, when it's a Superman movie and your entire plans for the DC universe are on the line, everything is important when you're going through the promotional material, especially as the head of the fucking studio, like you are, James Gunn. And but everything about this movie has been talked to death. We've heard a lot about test screenings. We've heard a lot about choices they made with the plots. We're going to hear more about how people feel Superman is portrayed, how Lois is portrayed, how Lex Luthor's portrayed. Everything is going to be up for grabs because this is a superhero who's very important to a lot of people. He's lasted this long, like in our public consciousness. This is an important character, and James Gunn has been entrusted with this character. And based on these tracking numbers, I can't see a world where this movie, even with people having problems with superhero movies, even with some of the fatigue that's out there, even with the questioning of James Gunn and the questioning of DC, I can't see a $90 million opening. I would shit my pants if that happened. For it to be on par with Captain America, Black Brave New World, I don't see it happening. But if it does end up in this realm, or maybe even 116 million, which would be less than in Man of Steel, not adjusted for inflation, then I do think you're talking about a Warner Brothers and a DC that goes into full panic mode, because this is a very expensive movie, and maybe even more important than just the money aspect of it. Of course, the money is important. Of course, what they put into this is important. However, for the future of this franchise, if people don't come out of this movie extremely happy and wanting to see more of this universe, you are fucked, because you just put your entire universe in this man's hands. So we'll see what happens.